Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the PSBlue podcast, available on all podcasting platforms. This is episode number 9. And Vinny, before I ask you how you're doing, I have an announcement to make.
Ooh, an announcement.
Yes.
What do we got going on?
Okay, here it is. You ready? It's a big announcement. We got a marketing budget. So in honor of episode number 10, which will be next week, we are having our first giveaway. That's right, corporate extended our marketing budget, and I couldn't be more thrilled. We're giving away a, drumroll, $10 PlayStation Network gift card for episode 10. This is legit. We really are doing this. Here's how you can
Ooh.
win. You have to be listening to episode 10 on YouTube and be subscribed to our channel. Easy, right? Okay, here's the harder part. You have to find the secret phrase somewhere in episode 10 of the podcast. Again, this is only going to be on YouTube, so don't go searching on Apple Podcasts because it won't be there. The secret phrase is only going to be on the YouTube upload, okay? How will you know what the secret phrase is? Trust me, you'll know it when you hear it. Okay, summary. Episode 10. Find the secret phrase somewhere in the 2-hour YouTube video. Be the first subscriber to comment the secret phrase on the YouTube video, and I'll send you the code for the PSN gift card. If this goes well, I'm going to increase the amount at milestone episodes. $15 for episode 15, $25 for episode 25, etc., etc. Okay, awesome. Don't forget to tune into episode 10. With all that out of the way, how are you doing today, Vinny?
I'm doing really well, Anthony. That's exciting news, though, that you just kind of broke on the
Uh-huh.
podcast. Our first giveaway. That's exciting. We're
Yeah.
moving up to bigger and better things. I'm that's news to me, so that's exciting. So
Yeah.
I'm interested to hear what that phrase is. I have a feeling it's going to be something great. So,
Yeah.
but I'm doing really well, man. How about yourself? How you doing?
We talked about this right before we started recording, but I can't stop bouncing around from game to game to game. This is, I'm sorry. I probably sound like a broken record. This is literally the third week in a row I've said this, but it's still true. And I think that you shared the same sentiment. Are you sort of in the same boat? What games have you been playing? Are you finally settling on anything? I know you've been playing Cuphead. Talk to me about that.
You know, man, like you said, I have that same problem recently that I'm waiting for a game to kind of grab me. And that is the problem with these subscription services. Like you have the new PlayStation Plus. I have, you know, I have Game Pass and the new PlayStation Plus. There's just so much to choose from. It's honestly, you put it perfectly in last week's episode, is that it can be so easy to be overwhelming and bounce from game to game to game, never beating any of them. And I wonder if this is like a normal problem. This has to be like a recurring, because it can't just be me and you that are having this,
No.
that's having this problem. Because like you said, I'm still playing Cuphead. That's kind of my main game right now, and it is honestly, I'm reaching the point of like I might be done with it because it got so hard at the end. But it's tough, man.
Yeah.
I think I'm in the mood for a new game. There's just nothing really coming down the pipeline. I think we have Stray coming up, so I think maybe that will be my next game that I pour hopefully a lot of time into, because it sounds like people are really excited about it. So I think that's the game that's on my eye right now, or on my wish list, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and do something for Stray. Those videos are fleeting. You have to upload that stuff like the second it is relevant, or you're just not gonna get hits on it. So I might upload something on the 19th when it comes out, just like an impressions video. So look out for that. I definitely want to do something on Stray, but I will also say I got a new TV, and nothing like crazy, but it was I'm selling my old one, so it's going to cost me about $150 to upgrade and actually get proper HDR on my PS5, which I didn't know what a huge difference this was going to make. Because if you're someone like you and I that are very into video games and really like hardcore, like I was not getting the most out of my PS5. I just was not, because it was really a problem of the highlights. The highlights were blooming to the point that they were starting to clip in like the white areas, and even the shadows were not good either. But anyway, got a new TV, re-downloaded Horizon because I ended up deleting it. This game's unreal. It's the most gorgeous game I've ever seen, and I'm so happy I get to experience it the way the developers intended now with a proper TV that can display HDR. So this is very exciting for me, and this is going to be my main game, I think, is Horizon. I started it all over. I'm playing it on the second hardest difficulty, and it feels just right for me. So I'm super excited about Horizon. So I'm going to have more to tell you guys about that in the future. But for now, today's topics include Crash 5, Elden Ring, The Last of Us Part 1, Prey, and more. As always, we need to start with the quote of the week from last week's episode. Vinny gave a glowing review of the new Steel Rising trailer from developer Spiders, and he earned himself a quote of the week. In this review, he said, quote, "I will say this looks better than Gollum, if that's even a compliment to a game. That's the biggest compliment I can give this game. Looks better than Sonic Frontiers and Gollum. Yippee." End quote. You had to be there because me just repeating it doesn't do it justice. That was really funny, Vinny. What do you what do you have to say about your quote of the week?
Honestly, these quotes of the week, these receipts are getting really scary. I'm like genuinely, I want Steel Rising to be good, but
Right.
if that game ends up being great, I'm just gonna get pummeled by our listeners because I destroyed this game leading up to its release, and probably unwarranted. I get it, but yeah, man. I mean, if that even is a compliment, yeah, better than Gollum, great, yippee. Like I said in the quote, is that's almost every game looks better than Gollum, and watch Gollum and Steel Rising be the two of the top 5 games that come out this year. I'm gonna end up looking like a moron, but you know what, man? I'm gonna stand by what I said. I stand by it. I have no interest in these games.
I mean, you didn't say anything that was out there. Everything that you said, other people were thinking. Okay? So, I mean, it's not exactly a hot take that Gollum is looking like trash. I saw the comment section of that Gollum trailer on PlayStation's YouTube is freaking hysterical. People are saying, I can't wait for them to remaster this game. I can't wait for the. I'm gonna have to dust off my N64 to play this game. Like really funny comments.
Man, okay, that's good. That's
Yeah,
good.
it's
Wow.
getting absolutely dunked on right now. But anyway, let's jump into the podcast. We got a lot of fun ones today, starting with Crash 5. First of all, I'm gonna flip this over to you, Vinny. Do you think we're gonna get a Crash 5? And if we do, what do you want to see? Because I've been playing a lot of the remaster, the Insane trilogy, and then Crash 4. We're going through. Kelly and I have gone through all 4 Crash Bandicoots, and I keep coming back to these games because they are so good. But let me ask you: do you think we're gonna get a Crash 5? And if we do, what do you want to see?
Oh yeah, I don't think there's a doubt in my mind that we're gonna get one. It seems like the fourth one sold really well. I know they. You know what's funny? I didn't know that the game was out for Nintendo Switch. I actually found that out. They were having an eShop sale, and I guess the Switch port came out much later after the original games were released on home consoles. And so that kind of tells me already, okay, like they know that this is going to sell really well. It sold really well on consoles. They're not going to
Good
port a
point.
Switch version over if it wasn't selling well. So I think just given how well received it was, and it seems like commercially it did really good, I think we're definitely going to get a Crash 5. I don't think do you agree with me in that? I guess suppose we could start off there. I think you would have to agree that I don't have a doubt in my mind. I think we're getting one. We're definitely getting a Crash 5.
Okay, so I wouldn't have posed the question if I didn't have some skepticism. Let me start by saying that. I
Interesting.
I want this game so bad that I'm not allowing myself to let it be a reality yet. I think that's a good point about the Switch. I didn't know it came out on Switch actually. Um, I don't know if I would want to play that game on Nintendo Switch. It's just not like I said with
Oh,
that Cuphead.
I
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I almost bought it on Switch. I
Oh
really
wow.
wanted to play it on Switch. It's another reason, just something about the portability factor. Really, not necessarily like I don't want to play it on my TV on my Switch. Obviously I'm gonna play my PlayStation version, but
Right.
that portability factor is awesome. So it kind of makes it like a new, fresh game in that way. So I was considering getting it. It actually looked like it had really good reviews from like Switch. People that purchase it on Switch, they say nothing but good things about it. So I don't think I'm going to get it, but that kind of tells me, and I'm glad that you kind of agree with me. It kind of tells me that it's sold well on
Right.
consoles, at least on our
Right.
consoles. Yeah,
I just to finish my point, I really want it to be a reality, so I'm not letting myself get too excited yet. This might just be like a personal problem of mine, but looking at it objectively, it would make total sense for there to be a Crash 5. The fourth one, if it didn't sell well, which I'm pretty sure it did, it at least was received very well. And it Toys for Bob, it's all up to them in my opinion. Do they want to do another Crash game? It seems like they enjoyed themselves making Crash 4. I don't know. I can't speak for them though, but I would not pass this along to another developer. I think they earned this IP, and if they want to do it, I think that they will have the opportunity to. So I think it's sort of up to them. As far as what I want to see in a Crash 5, I just want them to build on what they did in the fourth game. So they sort of created this new blueprint for an updated Crash, and they did it brilliantly. Like, it was great. There's not much negative comments I have on Crash 4. There really isn't. I'm trying to, you know, search in the depths of my mind looking for something negative to say about this game, and there really isn't. It's too hard, maybe. I mean, that ruins the accessibility factor of it, but even that's a reach because it scales up so well. The difficulty starts off not easy, but easy relatively speaking to the rest of the game, and then the progression is it's beautifully done. So as far as what I would want to see, I think I don't know if I want more masks. I think I just want more levels and variety of different locations. I think would be cool, and then maybe one additional character like to mix things up. It's very fun to play as Tawna in particular. She has a kick and the grappling hook. I loved her character.
yeah.
So maybe another one of those, but I wouldn't change the core formula here. Um, I just want a sequel. I want them to up themselves. I want them to one it up. One it up. Is that I want them to one up it. Um, and that's all I want to see. I would not add more masks. I don't know if you agree or disagree there. I would keep the masks the same. Maybe one more mask, but I feel myself rambling. Vinny, what do you have to
Yeah,
say about what I
to
said?
piggyback off of that, because that was what I was thinking when you said, what do we want to see in a Crash 5? And you put it perfectly. You want them to kind of one up themselves, but what does that actually mean? Do we get new masks? I don't want new masks.
You don't
I
either.
think
Okay.
I would imagine that when they were making Crash 4, they had a ton of ideas for masks, right? And they obviously had to cut a bunch due to, level constraints, or that they just didn't fit, the gameplay or whatever it was. There were certain, problems. I think what we're going to see is a combination of old masks and new masks. I think we're going to get new masks. I think I don't think they're going to go back and do the exact same thing. And to your point, more levels. I don't necessarily know if I want more levels. I feel like Crash 4 has an appropriate length for a platformer. It took me, I mean, that game took me like damn near 12, 13 hours to beat. It was so difficult. That was probably why. But I think from like a level design standpoint, or from a level, just a pure number standpoint, I felt like it was appropriate. I never felt like when I reached the end of the game, oh man, like there's not, there. I wish there was. Obviously, I wish there was more, but I never felt like I was, like there weren't enough levels within the game. So it's interesting that you say that. But I mean, obviously, I'm not gonna, sit here and say I don't want more levels. I guess for me, I like a nice tighter game. I felt like Crash 4 had that perfect length. And I think we are gonna see new masks. I really firmly believe that. Go ahead. Yeah.
I was just gonna say when I said new level, I was trying to like interject for a while there. I was like waving. Uh,
Sure.
when I said new levels, I just meant more Crash. That's all I meant. I didn't mean
Okay. Yeah, yeah, of
a
course.
higher, yeah, not a higher
Okay, I'm
quantity of
thinking.
levels.
Okay,
Just
okay,
I
that makes
want
sense to me.
more.
I
Yeah,
I
I want
misread you
more.
then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, I want new levels then. I mean, no shit. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm I'm just
Of
saying,
course,
like,
I want. No, I'm just playing with you.
the point I'm trying to make here is they don't
Yes.
have to change anything. They just give me more. Just give me more of
Yes. Yeah.
exactly what you've done.
Yep.
That's what I was
Yep.
trying
Just
to say.
keep the ball rolling. You don't need to really change much of what you've already done. Just kind of build off of it in the right ways. The one thing that I said with the for your consideration, I think this game could be a 10 out of 10 if they really make music a part of that experience. The music in Crash 4 is great, don't get me wrong, but I think when we think about our favorite platformers, music is so important to why those games are 10s. We think of things like even Celeste, while I don't think it's a 10, the music certainly is a huge component to why that game is so brilliant. Donkey Kong Country, we bring that game up all the time. The music, I mean, if there's no music in Donkey Kong Country, or at least to that level, those games aren't nearly as special. So I think that's the next evolution. There was a few levels in Crash 4 that had amazing music, and I just hope that they build off of that. I think that for me personally was a little bit of a disappointment though. Overall, I hope that they invest more time into that or something with it.
Yeah, there's a couple of levels in that game that you need to go to the beat of the backing music in
Hmm.
Crash 4. Those levels were
Amazing.
so good. You know what else? You know what
Yep.
other game does that actually? Is Sackboy. The new
Oh,
Sackboy game. I think it's called Sackboy Big Adventure. They have like licensed music, like they have Foster the People songs and stuff like that in their games. Bruno Mars. It's cool, man. So if you liked that aspect of a couple of levels of Crash, I would check out Sackboy Big Adventure. It's not hard. It's not easy. It's like, it's not even close to Crash, but they do a great job with the soundtrack. But I think it's a great point. Um, and the thing that makes this so, I guess, noticeable is that when the music is on that next level, it shows. So when the music
exactly.
isn't as good, we already have this precedent set from this one level that goes to the beat of the music, and the music is integral to the level. And when you see that, you can't unsee it. So it sounds like what you're saying is more a compliment to the levels that are flourishing than it is like a criticism of the levels that don't have it. Would
Yeah.
you agree
Yeah.
with
No.
that?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. There's no question. They don't need to change anything about the level design. I mean, I even said when I was reviewing the game that this is like top tier level design from just a platforming standpoint, from a variety standpoint as well. It never gets stale. It's always fresh. It always kind of keeps you on your toes. And there's one level in particular in this game, and I wonder if you remember it when we talk about music and the impact it had on that level. There's one, I want to say it was like a carnival. There's all these floats, there's fireworks going off in the
Yeah,
background, there are
the
these
exact level I was thinking of.
animals playing the saxophone, and you kind of actually jump into the saxophone and they launch you around the level. That is
Yeah.
the best level in the game, in my opinion. It is a
Mm.
10 out of 10. It is so good. I don't remember specifics regarding each individual level, so I suppose that's an
It's a pretty
argument
good
for another
level, but
day. But man, it was so cool. Yeah, and like you said, it's not any sort of detriment to Crash 4. I just think that's something that they could definitely build off of.
I would appreciate more of the wall running segments. I loved those
Mm.
segments. I don't think there's enough of that. There's more vine surfing than there is wall running, and I like the wall running better than the vine surfing. To get into specifics, I don't know. What do you think about that?
Interesting. Interesting. It's a good point. I never, I don't think I had an issue with, regards to how much wall running there was, how much vine jumping there was. I actually enjoyed the vine jumping sections more than I did the wall running. So it's interesting that you say that because we're on opposite sides there.
Yeah.
And I think that the vine sections allow for more like cinematic moments,
Oh, for sure.
with regards to the background.
That's a
So
good
I
point.
particularly enjoyed those more than the wall running. But the wall running is pretty cool though, especially like some of the futuristic levels. I think later in the game when you're kind of in like the sci-fi area,
Yeah.
It gets, especially with the mask that flips you upside
flip
down,
mask, yeah.
oh my god, and you're flipping all over the place and you're wall running. It's, oh my god, it was so hard. Those levels were so brutal. But yeah, it's a good point. I think, it'll be interesting to see what they add to the game, man. And like you said, nobody should be working on this game except for Toys for Bob. I
Yeah.
refuse. I'm going to be really upset if Activision came and it was a different developer. There's no way they could do it. But let me throw this out there. I'm a little worried only because of the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater remakes. The internal developer behind that at Activision was dissolved after those games released. And now they're actually
For
working,
real?
I think, on like World of Warcraft or something like that. Yeah, the
Wow.
developers of the
I didn't know
original, or not the original, but the remake of the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, Activision ended up dissolving them and kind of, shuffling them around to different departments. So that studio doesn't even exist anymore. I don't know the studio off the top of my head, but
Wasn't it
it's actually quite funny
Viacom?
because it may.
Or I'm sorry,
honestly
Viacom is not Viacom. That's like media company. Vicarious Visions, isn't that who developed the game?
I think that's who it is. Yeah, I don't think they exist anymore.
Wow.
Remake. Let's see. Let's confirm. Yeah,
Wow.
Vicarious Visions.
So
Yeah,
that was
so-
Vicarious Visions was disbanded to trickle
Yes.
into other studios. That I did
Yep.
not know that. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it sucks because it's funny because Tony Hawk, of all the people, Tony Hawk actually leaked out that they were working on what was it, Pro Skater 3 and 4 remake.
I can't wait
to
for that.
combine those, and then it got scrapped because they ended
Oh
up
my
dissolving the
God.
studio. So maybe
Did it
long term
really?
they'll come back to it. Yeah, I suppose that it didn't sell well enough. So anyways, that has me a little bit on your side. Now I know I'm speaking outside both ends here, but it has me a little worried because if Activision dissolves a studio like that after that kind of success, I don't know how commercially well the Tony Hawk's games were, but man, you never know with these corporate big entities like this.
Right.
All they care about is the money and recurring income. So I think they'll do it though. I really do. I'd be pretty surprised if there's no Crash 5.
Yeah, and I will love it as long as it's not free to play.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Oh,
So
my God.
our next topic is one that you brought to me, Vinny. It is an article from Eurogamer, and it references a Respawn job description that apparently Respawn is recruiting devs for a single-player FPS set in the Apex Legends universe. Again, I'm quoting from Eurogamer.net. They also go on to say, why is it referred to as the Apex Legends universe and not Titanfall? So, Vinny, talk to me about this.
That's the question. It's a great point made by the article. I think that Eurogamer hit it spot on right there. Where, first of all, let me say this. I was ecstatic when I first read this article because my mind was thinking Titanfall 3. I was like, this has got to be Titanfall 3. There's no way. And then I kind of read a little bit more and more about the announcement, and it's basically the only thing that we know is that they're hiring for a single player game that's in the Apex Legends universe. First of all, what a slap in the face to Titanfall fans to write that out, because Apex Legends is in the Titanfall universe. So I've been going back and forth on this because my mind went everywhere with this because I want to play. We discussed Titanfall 2, the brilliance of that campaign. And Respawn has really just turned into a truly top tier studio, like a studio that whatever they put out, I'm going to play because it's at worst going to be great. And they've earned that respect. And so we kind of have to wait here and see. But let me throw this out there because people are thinking there's no way this is Titanfall 3 because of the Apex Legends universe quote that's kind of put out there. But what a brilliant way this would be for Respawn to keep it tight-lipped about a Titanfall 3 game, because you can say this vice versa. It works both ways. Okay, we could say that, we're working on a first-person shooter game in the Titanfall universe and the Apex or the Apex Legends universe. You're saying the exact same thing. So if I'm thinking to myself, because I can't believe I'm doing this to myself because I'm probably wrong. But if I'm corporate or if I'm somebody at corporate, I'm going to call it a game in the Apex Legends universe, not give my hand away that this is Titanfall 3, because it still could be Titanfall 3. And, it keeps that, I just, what the hell is it going to be if it's in an Apex Legends game? What are we going to do? Play as Mirage? I
Can
don't
I
see that. That'd be super bizarre. Go ahead. Yeah,
can I
because I
just
know
say
I'm going on
something?
and on. Yeah, go ahead.
No, 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 no. You're not. You're not at all. I just wanted to interject before you went on to something else. I was going to say, I don't think you're crazy. I don't think you're convincing yourself of something that isn't a good strategy as far as a job posting standpoint. If they want to keep Titanfall 3 close to the vest because they don't want it to be immediately known that they're working on Titanfall 3, they want to control their PR. They want to understand when it is appropriate for them to announce this game. I was thinking the exact same thing, and I was going to make that point if you didn't. So we are in complete agreement there. I think that it is Titanfall 3. And
Wow.
I'm not as big of a fan as you are of that series. Take what I say at face value, because I'm not like, for example, Crash 5. I this is like Crash 5 is for me, where I'm like dying for this game, that I don't want to convince myself that it's real, because if it's not, I will be so upset. I think it sounds like you're the same with Titanfall 3. I'm telling you, I don't think you're crazy. I think that this is. I think
Wow.
it's Titanfall 3. I really do.
It's honestly, what you saying that just gave me like goosebumps. I'm sure it gave like genuine goosebumps, like, because for so long I have thought that they're never going to make a Titanfall 3 because of the success of Apex Legends. It seems like Respawn's working on a ton of stuff at one time right now. They definitely have their hands full. But yeah, man, I thought that's where my mind went. I was like, you know what? Why are people just ruling out that this isn't a Titanfall 3 game? Just because it says Apex Legends universe? Well, guess what? It's the same universe. So, and I don't want to set myself up for disappointment, though. I'm like fearful of talking about this in that way, because if they announce a game and it's a Mirage. Mirage is one of the characters in Apex Legends. He's like
Right.
the duplicate guy. I don't know if you played how much you played.
None of it.
FPS first person game.
The
I
tutorial
also,
was
you got to
great.
think they're going to get pummeled by the community. The community wants Titanfall 3. I know that it didn't do crazy numbers when it came out, but that was a lot of that had to do with the way that it was released. I don't know if you remember Titanfall 3. Did we discuss Titanfall 2 being released? It was a week after the Call of Duty game of that year. Came out a week after the Call of Duty game, and the week after the Titanfall 2 came out was Battlefield 1. So Titanfall 2 was smack dab in the middle of two monster IPs that were FPS games. It didn't really stand a
The
chance.
Horizon
And it was the
effect.
better game of, yeah, the Horizon effect. And we
There
talked
we
about
go.
that. It's
Yeah.
releases. Yeah, it's such a just demoralizing story, for someone like me that's a huge fan of this game. Oh man, I'm so happy you said that, though, because it makes me feel like there's hope. There's hope here. But man, if they now every EA conference I'm gonna have to watch now,
Yeah.
because I got to see what this is gonna be. And man, I'm gonna be so upset if it's some random character on Apex and it's their story. I
I
mean, I'm
mean,
definitely gonna play it. I'll play it for sure, because Respawn puts out nothing but amazing stuff. But
I agree with you there.
I yeah.
Think about it this way, though. Just think about it. If they said in their job description, Respawn is recruiting devs for a single player FPS set in the Titanfall universe. What game could that be? A single player FPS. What
Yeah.
game could that be if it's not Titanfall 3 in the
And you would
Titanfall universe?
imagine, yeah, and you would imagine they don't want to announce Titanfall 3 like that. What a
Exactly.
bland, kind of boring way to announce it.
Exactly.
So you make a perfect point there, because yeah, why would they do that? It doesn't make any sense. Good point, man.
I just
Please be Titanfall 3, please. Don't do this to me, Respawn. Don't do this. Not like this. Seriously though. Seriously, I'm being dead serious. I will be so upset if this is not Titanfall 3 now.
I
You've gotten
think
me. You got my hopes up.
yeah, I'm sorry. I don't want to like get you disappointed if it's not, but I think that there's, to me, like I said, I don't want to repeat myself, but I will really quickly. From an outsider's perspective, if they said Titanfall single player, we need developers. Immediately, it's like pretty much they leaked Titanfall 3 is confirmed. So
Yep.
they didn't want to do it that way. They have to be more creative about it. They could have just said, they're recruiting devs for a single player FPS. They didn't have to say anything about Apex Legends or anything like that at all. They chose to include that detail because it's important to them that the devs are familiar with that brand. And like you said, that brand is Apex and Titanfall. Okay, it's a combined thing. So this is the smartest way they could have done it, and it doesn't surprise me that Respawn is taking this angle. But
Also interesting, Anthony, to wrap that up.
go, yeah.
It does say single player adventure. My mind also goes, if this is Titanfall 3, are we not going to get a normal multiplayer? Because
No.
it seems like you don't think we will.
No.
If it is Titanfall 3. That
No.
would be a crying shame because Titanfall 2 has outstanding multiplayer.
Why would they don't want to compete with themselves? Why would
That's a
they?
good point. It's a
Yeah,
very good
why would they
point.
want to compete with themselves? They have Apex. Apex is doing amazingly. They would lose so much money if they did that.
Maybe. I think that it depends on how they look at Battle Royale versus like typical standard FPS multiplayer because I don't think Titanfall 2 is a Battle Royale.
Yeah, but I don't think
they might see that as a different market, but yeah, probably not.
I don't think anybody
right,
plays multiplayer like that. Or
Mm-hmm.
they do. It's not as popular as Battle Royale. And they would just be pulling from the same well. They would be taking people away from Battle Royale to play Titanfall multiplayer. I don't think it's conducive for their business model, in my opinion. So I think it would be Titanfall 3 single player only. Maybe they even call it, just to wrap this up, maybe they even call it Apex Titan Smash or something something really like because maybe it's like Titanfall 3 and everything but the name, you know what I mean? Because they want
Yeah.
people that don't know Titanfall but they know Apex, people that grew up on Apex, they want them involved in the single player game. So maybe it's Titanfall 3 and everything but the name. Who knows? We'll find out more, I'm sure, when Respawn is ready. So this next topic, Vinny, I'm going to need your help with because I don't fully understand it. It's a little vague. And of course, I'm talking about PlayStation Stars. The way that I heard about this was I was actually, before I saw it on the blog, before I saw it online anywhere, I actually was playing PS5 and I saw it on an announcement on the Sony store, whatever, the homepage, not the store, the homepage. I'd see PlayStation Stars, new loyalty program from Sony. So to tee this up a little bit better, we have PlayStation Stars on blog.playstation.com, introducing PlayStation Stars, an all-new loyalty program. Join for free, complete campaigns, and earn rewards. This is, again, from blog.playstation.com. Throughout our company's 27-year history, we have been continually moved by how meaningful gaming experiences can create fond, lifelong memories for players. All of us at PlayStation take special joy in creating unique products and experiences that delight our fans. This includes everything from our consoles and critically acclaimed games to community challenges such as Seize the Throne and treat codes to digital and live events including State of Play. Today I'm pleased to reveal PlayStation Stars, a brand new loyalty program that celebrates you, the player, for being on this ever-growing gaming journey with us. They go on to say PlayStation Stars will be free to join when it launches. It's coming out later this year. Once you become a member, you'll earn rewards by completing a variety of campaigns and activities. That's, again, all from their website. Vinny, try and make sense of this for me because I'm just not seeing it.
I'm trying to make sense of it myself, I'll be honest with you, as I'm kind of reading through this. I'm a little confused as you are, but as I'm reading through it, it's starting to make a little bit more sense. But first of all, I want to say, I think this is cool. I think it's actually really cool the more that I'm reading it. It seems like this is almost going to be alongside trophies in a way, like achievements almost. They talk about the opportunity to earn loyalty points. I'm trying to grab the quote here. Just by playing certain games, winning tournaments, earning specific trophies, or even, this is cool, or even being the first player to platinum a blockbuster title in your local time zone. That's really this is unique. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. And then you can actually use those points to purchase games, which I would imagine those points are not going to be. It's going to be like $1.50, $2.50. There's no way they're going to give a lot out. I would be pretty shocked because there are these monthly, it looks like, check-in campaigns that they're going to do. All you got to do is log into games and you get points. That's going to be like 10 cents. I would imagine it's going to be they're going to be very picky about what they give out and when they give it out. There's no way it's going to be a lot. Go ahead.
Here's the cool thing about this. They just want you to check into the games. They want to give you some sort of an incentive to just play the game. Like they're just saying, hey, just play this. Just play this once. It's sort of like what I hate to self-promote, but it's sort of like what I'm doing with this $10 giveaway. I just want you to listen to the podcast because I believe in our in our podcast. I do. I think we have good chemistry. I think it's a fun. I think it's fun, and maybe that's because I'm biased. Maybe it sucks, but yeah, just let us know. Anyway, so the way that I do that is by saying, hey, okay, I'm gonna hide. And again, this is episode 10. I hate self-promoting, so I apologize. I apologize so much for this. But episode 10, you gotta go deep in our podcast to find this. Now, Sony is obviously more successful than we are because we're covering them. They're not covering us. So they just want you to log into the game. They're saying these games are so good. Just go in for 2 minutes. And tell us you're not going to keep playing. That's the bet that they're making, and that's what they're doing with this loyalty program, in my opinion. I'm glad you brought up the monthly check-in thing. So, I mean, am I wrong here? Because that's exactly what it seems like to me. They just want you to be exposed to what they're doing because they believe in their products.
Yeah, I also think it's a long-term play because I think you're absolutely right that that's kind of the way that this is going to work, but long-term play meaning we know that Sony is actively investing in live service games. Like there's going to be a dramatic shift here in the coming years. I think we're actually going to touch on that in a later topic that Sony's going to be releasing live service games exclusively on their platform, a lot of them. And this now it makes it sound a little dirty almost because what they could say is go, let's just use Fortnite, for example, if that was a PlayStation exclusive, right? Go log into Fortnite, go play it for 20 minutes and you get, 15 cents in loyalty points, and that's kind of how they grab you into those live service, free to play, not necessarily free to play, but those games that offer those microtransactions. That's a way for Sony to kind of recoup those funds of what they're giving out. Because my guess is, that most of these are going to be PlayStation exclusives that they're going to offer the monthly check-ins. Maybe they have certain partnerships with certain games that say, hey, like, I'll be interested to see how those deals go. But I think that's actually where my mind is going now with those monthly check-ins. That's actually kind of a little scary,
well, great,
because it's going to be for those live service games. What's
you're
that?
Like you're completely flipping what I said, and I absolutely agree with you. Shit,
Yeah.
Man. Oh,
right?
Damn it.
Am I? Yeah. I you know what's funny? I didn't
hope
even
that's
think
not
of that
what it is.
until I started saying it, and I was
Yeah.
like, man, it's starting to make me think that this is a little worse than what I was originally reading.
like,
yeah.
I'm like, they believe in their games. They just want you to play their games. And you're like, nah, man. It's just so they can have more microtransactions. Wow, that could
This took a
absolutely
turn
be
for the
what it
worst.
is. Here's the thing. So we're gonna have to wait and see. We're gonna have to wait and see because it could be either or. It could be something in the middle. It could be something that we're not even thinking of. But the long-term thing that you're talking about sort of triggered something for me, and it sort of set something off in my brain, and that is third-party games. So in addition to trophies, if somebody has a PlayStation and somebody has an Xbox, they're going to prefer to play something that can potentially get them points. Yeah, it's $1.
Wow.
Yeah, it's, you can obviously save up and eventually get to $10, $15, $20 until you get a free game. But why would I play the new Assassin's Creed game on Xbox when they're on both services on Ubisoft Plus? They're both free. And one, I get like some monetary gain. The other one, I get nothing.
It'll be
So
interesting to not to cut you off there, Anthony, but wouldn't you feel more inclined to? And this is kind of saying the exact same thing, but I'm putting myself in that situation because it'll be interesting to see if Sony does deals with what those deals look like with those publishers. Because hey, can we give away $10
right.
to if for people that beat Assassin's Creed on our platform? If we're talking $5-10, I don't know about and that's so we have income now. We're not youngsters anymore. But
Right.
if we were kids, with
Yeah.
no
Oh my
money,
God.
I would beat those Assassin's Creed games. I would love it too. It almost
Yeah.
like it gives you that reason. And then of course, now my mind starts going, okay, now kids are going to start doing this. There's probably going to be transaction heavy games here. Oh man, this is a double-edged sword here. This is
It definitely is because it's something that at face value looks innocent and very
that is
it's
too
so
damn
funny
funny.
the evolution of this conversation. It really is because
We both really started very positive on this topic, and we did. We both saw the bright side.
the
You know,
dirty, smutty PlayStation stars that are only there to get you to do microtransactions on Fortnite.
now I'm really interested to see what these are going to look like. Like it's
I've
going to be
been
really fascinating. Now this is
yeah,
this is a really interesting topic here.
I've been waiting to make this comparison since we started talking about this, but you know how Nintendo has those gold and silver coins on their shop? It might just be that,
And
like
that's
more
really cool, by the way.
Yeah.
That system that Nintendo has, that's like you just buy a game and you automatically get money back. It's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, but
You
their
buy
games are never
Mario,
on
you get
sale.
$3.
Like they're acting
Yeah,
like they're
that's a
doing
good
charity
point.
work or something. It's really
Yeah,
not that big
yeah,
of a
it's a
deal.
good point. It
But
is, but it's cool though. It's a cool, it's something.
it's nice. Yeah.
It
I don't know
could be,
what
man. This is interesting.
I'm starting to take a darker turn on that too. There's a reason why they do that. But it's weird because they do that on it's mostly exclusive games on Nintendo. So what is their I don't know. I don't want to get too off topic there, but we could dive into that another day. If we become successful enough, maybe we'll start a Nintendo podcast and we can get two other people to do it because I don't know enough about Nintendo. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm depressed now. Thank you. You've depressed me. And here's
Needless
the
to
last
say,
thing
yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say really quickly, digital collectibles is a new type of reward that they're rolling out. And that just sounds like NFT, which is another dirty word to me. So they
That's
swear it's
exactly
not
where
NFT.
my mind went. Yeah.
Yeah, they swear it's not an NFT, but that's the last thing I want to talk about on this podcast. So, Vinny, what were you going to say?
Oh, nothing. I was just to wrap up the topic because now you're absolutely right. This just took a real dark turn, and we sound so negative on everything, but I feel like people are going to agree with us. I refuse to believe it that this has taken a really dark turn, and I think that to wrap this up, we have got to watch this with a microscope when it comes out. I'm so
Absolutely.
interested to see what this is going to be. We have to discuss this when it launches because I really want to see what this is and how it's implemented. And at first, it's probably going to be harmless. You know what I mean? They're probably going
Right.
to, when it launches, it's probably
Right.
going to be beautiful and everything's all sunshine and rainbows and, makes perfect sense until, I can't wait for this. Now, this has just got way more interesting to me for sure.
Put 40,000 hours into Fortnite and you get $10 worth of a battle pass.
I know that.
Oh my
It's a
God.
good point. It's a good point. It
Okay.
could happen.
So I could not have written these topics out any more appropriately. I didn't realize that PlayStation Stars was going to take that dark turn, but here's another dark turn. Skate 4. He's laughing because he already knows what's coming. Skate 4 has been announced as free to play. Yep, that's right. Skate 4 it's going to be called Skate with the period, just called Skate. But to save confusion, we'll call it Skate 4. It's going to be free to play. Oh my God. This was announced, I believe it was this week that it was announced, the week of July the 12th. And, here we are talking about PlayStation stars, and I can't wait to rack my stars up in Skate 4 so I can get that Tony Hawk skateboard deck. Oh my god, dude! I what a depressing turn this podcast just took. Yeah, so for full circle, they released this video. It was like a 20-minute video. I watched, I would say, probably half of it. I scrubbed through it, and they are promising that Skate will not be pay to win, and that you will get all the content in the world as far as gameplay is concerned. And they're making a huge point because they understand the stink that free to play has on it, and which is good. I'm glad they have that awareness. But in this video, they pretty much go on to say, listen, if you want to, tip us for this game, you can buy a skin, If you want to show your support, get some cosmetic stuff going on, because they know that sells well. And, if you want to be completely free, you're not missing out on anything that isn't cosmetic. They just want it to be Skate, and they just want it to, they don't want it to be pay to win. They made that abundantly clear. They actually had a streamer interview with them on that video, and he was like kind of apprehensive about the free to play, and they sort of quelled his concerns. So good on Full Circle. They're slowly but surely becoming one of my favorite developers for how transparent they are. And I put together a little video about how it's kind of just like a slap in their face that a version of Skate 4 got leaked, and people are playing it to get views on their YouTube channel and their Twitch streams. And it's just kind of like, dude, like, what are you doing? They showed us behind the scenes. They showed us that, like, they're being completely transparent. It's so refreshing for the industry. And then you're going to, it's just not a good look as far as I'm concerned, but we can maybe talk about that now, but maybe we'll save that for another day. But Vinny, I'm going to pass it to you. How do you feel about all this?
Firstly, I'd like to say that I totally agree with your video. Those that haven't watched it, definitely go take a look at it. Anthony goes into real detail there as to why it's more of a slap in the face than you initially think it is. You think it's upsetting, but definitely go check out that video that Anthony uploaded on the channel. You did a great job with that. So you don't, because you kind of went back and forth there a little bit. Let me ask you: you are upset that this is going free to play?
Yeah, but I mean, it's EA. So this is what I'm thinking. I'm upset that it's free to play. I'm thinking that I'm processing right now. What I'm thinking might have happened. Full Circle, this game kind of just like came together sort of randomly. There wasn't supposed to be a Skate 4. Maybe one of EA's caveats was that they have microtransactions in the game. Maybe because, I mean, again, we're talking EA here. They are notorious for, they're like Ubisoft with these microtransactions. They're worse. I think EA is probably one of the worst with the microtransactions and, all the Ultimate Team games. And it's just, there has had to have been a conversation that was before the game was free to play, because Full Circle, the developer, there's some resistance there, you can tell. And that's just based on the fact that they're defending the free to play model. You know what I mean? They're trying to say, okay, we know it's free to play, don't panic. So that makes me think personally that wasn't the original vision for this game, but they want to make the game. And if this is the only way we can make it, this is the only way we can make it. I mean, maybe they wanted it to be free to play to begin with, but I just don't see it. That just seems like a very corporate move to me. That seems like a very EA driven move. So no, I don't like that it's free to play, but yes, I think Full Circle handled it very well. And I do think that this was something that sort of happened to them. I really do.
Interesting.
Again, that's just speculation. It's just my opinion, but just based on watching that video, based on how they defended the game, that's sort of the impression I get. So did I answer your question?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it did. Yeah, I appreciate it. I was just curious on that. I hate coming to EA's defense here a little bit, because I think you are absolutely right, where I think this is more EA saying this game is going to be free to play as opposed to Full Circle wanting it to be free to play. But if you're EA, you've released, how many skate games were there prior to this? 3?
There was
None.
3. And there was one.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3. 3
Yeah.
main titles.
So I know that 3 didn't commercially do very well for them. I would imagine that the first 2 probably weren't blockbusters. They were probably, I think the first one was really well regarded and well received and did well commercially, but the sequels in particular, I don't think that those were blockbusters. Okay. And EA probably said, look, we're not just going to release another Skate 4 for this makes me sound like evil corporate, but we're not going to release it for a small audience. We can't do it. Financially, we need a game that's going to be sustainable, that's going to have, longevity and actually give us, income in the long term, as opposed to, a flop. We can't support this otherwise. The only way that we can have this game is if it's free to play. And they probably were actively encouraging. Yeah, I think I'm in agreement here that EA probably came to them and said this needs to be free to play. And full circle, to their credit, it seems like they're doing the best with that situation. No pay to win, no map areas locked behind any kind of paywalls, no paid loot boxes, no paid gameplay advantages. So I love that they were outright and immediately, when they announced free to play, they immediately announced these, what do I want to call this? These sort of statements after, announcing the game to go to free to play. It's very important. And like you said, full circle, I mean, yeah, kind of turning into one of my favorite studios with how transparent they're being. And I'll be honest with you, I was a little hesitant too. I think when I first saw that this was going to be free to play, I was like, oh no, I don't know if I like that for Skate. But after I read the article and I saw that it's going to just be skins, that's, only cosmetics. There's not that barrier of entry to get your friends involved anymore. I think that was probably a problem with Skate multiplayer in the past. It's such a neat. I hate using the term niche this much, but we don't see a lot of skateboarding games, and those games, it's we just don't see them a lot. I guess in the past we have very recently, with the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater series, which did really well. But I'm excited. I think I'm for this being free to play. I'm happy that there's not going to be any sort of loot boxes. That's immediately where my mind went, right where yours went. And to those that are really upset about this, I kind of ask why. And what I mean by that is, if you thought Skate 4 was going to come out and it was going to be a $60 game and there weren't going to be cosmetics, you were going to be totally wrong. This game was going to get skins. It was going to get cosmetics regardless of the $60 price tag. It was going to happen. So that would be my question to people. Why are we so upset about this? The only thing is that there's no barrier of entry. This is a multiplayer game. This allows, different people to kind of come and play together, friends, without that barrier of entry. Go ahead. Yeah.
I'm gonna cut you off there and answer that question. And this is not something that I initially thought of. It's something that on that video, one of our comments, they made such a phenomenal point. Sorry, I don't have the username on hand, but I wish I did. Maybe I'll look it up while we're waiting. So they went on to make this point that the reason why free to play is a big deal is because more than likely there's not going to be a campaign for this game. And the campaign was awesome in the first 3 skates. I think all 3 of them had a campaign. I want to say all 3 of them had a campaign, but I loved the campaign. It was like an underrated part of the game. It was the main part of the game as far as I'm concerned, because multiplayer wasn't as big of a deal back then. It was sort of like the extension of the game after you beat the campaign. So that is, I mean, do you have anything to say on that?
No, that's a very good point. I didn't play the campaign in the original Skate. I love the original Skate. Really, the only thing that I did was play multiplayer with you at the time when that game came out, and it was awesome. But I never really had dove into the campaign. So for those that were thinking this is going to be, for that sort of audience that was expecting a Skate single-player campaign, yes. Yeah, there is some disappointment here for sure. There's no doubt about it. I don't think we're getting a campaign. I'd be stunned if this had a single-player campaign. There might be
Right.
Yeah, there might, other than a single player tutorial explaining how the game works, you're not going to get anything campaign wise here. So that's a very good point for that audience that was expecting that. That there's certainly that level of disappointment. I can definitely see that.
So I'm looking for the user that left this comment, but I can't find it. There's a lot of comments on this video, so I apologize. But thank you, whoever you are, for bringing that point to our attention. But yeah, that was the sentiment of what they said is free to play equals no campaign. I largely agree with that. I wanted to challenge one of the other things you said. Two of the things you said, actually. One thing I wanted to support that I was researching while you were sort of talking about it. So you said EA corporate perspective. We don't want to release this game if it's not going to sell copies. You know, we have to do a different model because it's not going to sell copies. And I was like, he's so wrong. Like, let me Google how much this new remember that new trailer that came out, the one that we talked about last week? I was like, this has got to have millions of views. It has 660,000 views as of July the 17th. That's nothing. For a video game, that's not a lot. It's just not. So I wanted to challenge you there, but I actually ended up supporting your argument. 650,000 views. You know, some of them are going to be duplicate views, so and some people are just not going to buy it. Some people just happened upon it. So you think a few 100,000 copies, maybe, and then the game dies, you know, or you can go free to play and the game's around for however long they can maintain the servers and either make a profit or keep it stable, you know, where they're not losing any money. I hate to say it, but that might be the right play here, the free to play. I hate to say that. I hate saying that. But I mean, it seems like a necessary evil. If you want Skate 4, this is, you know, what you have to sort of the sort of compromise you need to make. So that was the first thing I wanted to comment on. The other thing you said is that there's not a lot of skating games. That is false, I believe. There is a game called Session, which is about to get a full release in September. There's also a game called Skater XL, which is already out. The Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 games are out. So there's a lot of skateboarding games. And I was just watching a documentary on Tony Hawk, and one of the sort of pundits in that documentary about Tony Hawk made a really good point about skateboarding. And he said, and he had been, you know, in that industry for 30, 40 years. He was saying skateboarding comes in waves. It comes in cycles. And the more he said this, the more I was like, wow, this is so true. And in the video gaming landscape too, there's, you know, huge peaks for skateboarding. And then there's like low valleys where nobody really plays or talks about skateboarding games or skateboarding except for hardcore skateboarders. So that's sort of the way that it works. You know, skaters, I should say, not skateboarders. I'm probably going to get write-ins if I say skateboarders. I don't think that's the appropriate term. But yeah, I don't know. So I think we're in a cycle where skateboarding is popular again.
That's a very good point. Those are skate games. Those other games that you had mentioned, I had never heard of them. I suppose what I mean by, you know, not a lot of other skate games out there, I mean more so like it's not a genre that we see a ton of games, like Call of Duty, first-person shooters. There's a lot of competition there. You know, and that's a very good point, though. I really hadn't even heard of any of those games, and I actually just looked up while you were going, you know, while you were discussing it, because I had never really heard of them. That game, Sessions, looks pretty cool, and that's coming out soon. It'll be interesting. And to your original point, the, you know, 660,000 views on that original Skate video, you're absolutely right. That's nothing. And I think we would have seen a Skate 4 if this audience was here. EA is, for all the crap that we give EA about their monetization and their tactics, they know what the audience, what the size is, what the size of these audiences are. They do way too much marketing and surveying and things like that. What, they have a good understanding of what and the amount of people that want this game. And based on, those that are close to the gaming industry, like me and you, it seems like people are clamoring for a new skate game, and they have been for the last 10 years. But that's just not, that's for those that are close to the gaming industry. For those that, people worldwide are not it's not a huge thing that people are clamoring for. And so, yeah, that's probably what EA said, was we just don't have that market share, that market that we need to make money off of this game. So we need to go free to play. That's our only option. That's our best bet. And they're taking a gamble here. And I think it's going to, I'm actually curious. I suppose I'll bounce this off to you. Do you think this is going to be a successful free to play game? Do you think it's going to have legs? What do you think this is going to be? I'm curious to just put a bow on this. I think it's going to be successful. I think it is.
I do. And here's why. We talked about 650,000 views on that video. That's still roughly 200,000, 300,000 people that are excited for this game. So if you can foster a little community there, and like I said, all you have to do is have enough of an audience there to support the servers and the streamers, the YouTubers, the just overarching community of players will help support this game on its own. There's a lot of people that stream these skateboarding games. So I think it will be. I think Skate is going to, for lack of a better word, poach a lot of the Session fans and the Skater XL fans. And just a quick side note on Session. It has actually been out for, I think 2017 is when it had its early, what's it called on Steam? The early access. It's been on early access since then, but it's having a full retail release in September of this year. So just a quick correction, or a side note, I guess I should say there. But yeah, I think it will be successful. And I think that, for as much crap as we give these free-to-play games, it goes back to something we said a few weeks ago. I was playing a game called, I don't even remember the name of the game, to be honest with you, but it was like a rollerblading dodgeball game. Roller Champions, I think it was called. And we were talking about free-to-play. And I mentioned, they can try so many times, throw so much crap at the wall until one of them sticks. And that one game that sticks will make them so much money that they'll recoup all their losses and then make a ton of profit. Everybody's trying to be the next Rocket League. That's all it is. That's all these pseudo sport games are. They're just trying to be the next Rocket League. So, on a more positive spin, after we just sort of went down this really dark, deep hole, a more positive spin here is that free-to-play makes some games that you wouldn't have seen possible. So I don't know if you get, like you said, I don't know if you get another skate game if it's not free-to-play. So as much as we sort of shit on free-to-play, I kind of have to, pump the brakes on it a little bit here, because it's really funny. I don't know what we're going to say and what we're going to get into when I sort of write the topics out and we start talking. I just knew I was going to completely bash free to play on Skate 4 when we came to this topic, and I didn't. And that's so surprising to me that it took this positive spin. So it just goes to show you never really know what you're going to get until you talk this stuff out. So I mean, that's enough for me on Skate. I don't have much more else to say. I don't know if there's anything you want to say to wrap it up, but I'm excited for this, regardless of whether it's free to play or $150 to buy it. I'm going to be playing this.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I can't wait to play this. Get it in my hands, and let them take their time. Don't rush this one out. That's one problem with free to play games. They can rush these things out and fix the problems later. I hope they don't do that.
For sure.
We'll see.
Okay, so this is big news, this next topic. Haven Studios are officially PlayStation employees. This comes by the way of gamesindustry.biz. So they posted an article, and it's all about Jade Raymond's Haven Studio, and they finalized the deal. They are under the PlayStation brand now officially, and PlayStation architect Mark Cerny, one of the godfathers of PlayStation, is working very closely with Haven Studio. So, like I said, this is courtesy of gamesindustry.biz, but I also pulled up an IGN article. They sort of summarize this more detailed, granular article. So I'm just going to go off of this IGN article now. Co-creator Mark Cerny is assisting Jade Raymond's Haven Studios. The studio is investing heavily in R&D and live service games. Like you were saying earlier, Vinny, live service games. So as we know, Mark Cerny is the PS4 and PS5 lead system architect. And again, he's working with Jade Raymond. Seems to be doing big things. R&D. When I think of R&D, I think peripheral. I think VR. I think something new. How does this make you feel, Vinny? What does this sort of do for you? This article and this news of Mark Cerny working very closely with Haven.
Yeah, this is quite the mystery here, because she's on record for saying they're making an exclusive for PlayStation 5, and it is going to be a live service game. So a year ago, I think you may have touched on this, that Sony invested in Haven, and now they're officially acquiring them. So it's telling me a few things. Number one is they really like whatever this game is that she's working on. They like the pitch. They like the idea. They it sounds like they fell in love with it, to be honest with you. Otherwise, they wouldn't have acquired the company. It also, based on what you said, you were spot on. A lot of R&D kind of tells me whatever they're working on at Haven, they want to use it with other developers as well. If they're investing, if Mark Cerny's involved with this, I suppose we had touched on this a little bit a while back, I think on a few episodes ago, that Hideo Kojima used the Guerrilla engine, right? I think that this could potentially be some form of something that they're developing based on what Sony wants to do with live service games, some sort of software that's apparently going to take full advantage of the PlayStation 5's capabilities. And my guess is they want to invest a lot into it right now so that other developers under PlayStation have access to it, whatever it is. It's going to be easily shared amongst the different developers, and we're really going to start seeing live service games from these first party studios. It's inevitable at this point, and this is only reassuring that information, because Sony really wants to get involved in these live service games. This is really fascinating, though, that Mark Cerny's involved with this. So, man, really, really interesting. That's where my mind goes, is if he's involved, it's something that is critical, not critical, but really important internally at Sony, that they do it right, whatever it is that they're working on. Okay. And they probably want to use it with other developers within the company. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, we're gonna get into this next week, I know, but we have Bungie, that apparently PlayStation is working on live service things with Bungie. We have Haven Studio. They're doing live service things there. What are we missing? What is this mysterious sort of live service giant conglomerate of really talented developers? What is this going to ultimately materialize to? Are they working on? It almost makes me think that it's not even a video game. Like, maybe they're trying to optimize, because again, there hasn't been a game officially announced yet. So maybe they're doing support on The Last of Us live service multiplayer, and maybe that was the sort of deal that they made. Hey, you do support on this game for us, and then we'll let you have this X amount of dollars, this sort of budget for your own game in the future. And I saw something on an IGN article that sort of deduces what the game industry article says, and they're talking about The platforms plan to launch more than 10 live service games by 2026. Wow.
And
That's 10 more live service games than I really care for, but
and
I mean, what's going on? There's so many talented people here. Haven Studios has or studio has they have a lot of talent in house. Jade Raymond took a lot of people from the original Assassin's Creed games, Rainbow Six Siege. So we have multiplayer and single player driven sort of developers working with her. I know she has a lot of talent there. That's been sort of the consensus. So what is going on? What are we missing, Vinny?
so let me ask you this: so you don't think that these these hires and Mark Cerny's involvement is not exclusively for a video game coming out of their company, like New Haven's game, whatever game they're making? You think that they're doing multiple projects at once right now? Is that
Yeah.
what you were saying?
Um, I don't know. I was just speculating, to be honest with you. I think the studio is called Haven. By the way, we keep saying New Haven, but just I don't want
Oh,
people
yeah,
to.
yeah.
It's actually Haven, Vinny.
I know, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I just feel like we're missing something. That's all. I don't. I'm not trying to make any official predictions here. I think that I hear words like R&D. I think VR or another peripheral. I hear words like live service. I don't know where my head goes to. There's so many different routes that we could take that phrase live service. You
Yeah,
know,
I'm gonna stick with. I think that. Sorry to cut you off there, but
I was
I
just gonna
think
say Death
the point that you
Stranding's
made
live
earlier.
service.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? If you
yeah,
could
that's a good
potentially,
point.
I mean, it's not free, but there's live service elements to Death Stranding. So, like, what is live service? Go ahead.
I think what they mean by live service is Death Stranding to an extent is a live service, but it's not. I think this is a multiplayer game. This is going to be some sort of multiplayer co-op, almost like an Anthem or something to that effect. If I had to take a guess, I think they're working on a game here. They're working on a PlayStation 5 exclusive. She's already been on record saying that. I think all these people are working on the same game. I think that Sony. Also, another quote that she has here is that with Mark Cerny being involved, is that they're trying to get with the PlayStation level graphics that people have come to expect. So this is some sort of AAA project here. This has to be. It is some sort of internal AAA PlayStation 5 exclusive.
I
That's
just
what
had a
they're
thought.
working on, I think. And what's that? Go ahead.
I just had a thought. What if
Yeah.
Mark Cerny? Okay, Mark Cerny. We think Mark Cerny. We think PlayStation 5. We think PlayStation 4. What if this game is supposed to be optimized for the PS5 Pro, the yet to be announced PS5 upgrade? What if there's some sort of
Interesting.
yeah, what if there's some sort of marketing play? Because a few weeks ago we talked about how Sony has in their fiscal reports they were talking about how they have plans to end the PS4's life cycle. So how are they going to replace that market share? The PS5 is going to get downgraded to the PS4, and the PS5 Pro is going to get upgraded to where the PS5 is right now. Or, for lack of a better word, we don't know what it's going to be called, but we know that they're working on something. Maybe Mark Cerny has the prototype for the PS5 Pro, and maybe he's bringing that to Jade Raymond and saying, hey, this is the most powerful console we have ever made. Can you make us something that will show off the power of this thing? What do you think about that?
I I actually agree. I think you hit it right on the head there. I couldn't agree more, because you also have to think that this is a newly formed studio last year. Their game is not coming out for another 4 years. At best, we're looking at 2024, 2025, probably, more likely. So by that time, PlayStation 5 Pro is going to be out. And I think you actually make a really good point there, that is probably maybe it's going to be some sort of a title that touts whatever sort of upgrades the PlayStation 5 Pro are bringing to the table. It's totally possible, but that is what's going on here, and that's why Mark Cerny's involved. I think you actually make a really good point there. That's a very good thought. I never really thought about, when this game's going to come out, and
Yeah.
like you said, man, I think he has an idea of what the PlayStation 5 Pro is going to be. At the very least, he has an idea, because he's definitely involved. He's been involved with two of the most successful, consoles of, our lifetime. So he's definitely involved with the PlayStation 5 Pro. Yeah, I think I'm inclined to agree with you. I think you hit it right on the head.
Yeah, and here's another scary thought. What if they're doing a battle royale that that can only be supported by the PlayStation 5 / whatever their new hardware is, and it's like a 500 person battle royale? What if it's something like that?
Oh man, I would be so excited. I
Oh my
hope that's
God.
what it is,
Ugh.
but don't get me so excited like that. I will say this, I won't be surprised if that's what we're looking at here. You got to think this is uncharted water for Sony. They're not like a multiplayer driven publisher. They don't have
Right.
first party multiplayer games. So I think that's why you're seeing this heavy investment into R&D. They're trying to make sure that, can we deliver a AAA Sony level graphics, PlayStation level, quality that people have come to expect with a live service multiplayer. I read that as multiplayer. I like recurring multiplayer, whatever you want to call it, game. So, yeah, I hope it's battle royale, but I don't think
Here's
we'll see
a
that. I might be in the minority there though on that one.
Yeah, no, you're definitely not. You're in the minority on this podcast because I just hate battle royale. Okay, so here's a more boring take on this whole. We have Bungie, we have Haven, we have all these live service sort of driven acquisitions for PlayStation. They might just be trying to get PlayStation Now, what formerly known as PlayStation Now. They might just be trying to get that in better shape. Super boring take, but it could very well be that some of these people were brought on to be part of that team. Like, hey, there's literally no way for us to get Resistance 3 on a PS4, so we have to stream it, so we need to make it good enough to actually play. How do we do that?
That's a good point. It could be. This is quite the mystery, though. It could be something
Yeah.
very basic. Can be something magical. We don't know yet, and we're not going to find this out for years, if I had to guess.
Oh man, dude, we still have two pretty big talking points to get into for your consideration. So I think it's best to just keep moving along. We have a little video that got about 4,000 views in 2 weeks. So good on you, Vinny. This is about your, we're going to have a lot of theories on this channel, apparently. Apparently that's what this channel is turning into, is a theory-based channel. But you submitted a Last of Us theory, Vinny, and I clipped it off and made a YouTube video out of it. And I just wanted to give you a chance to respond to some of these comments that we've been getting. We got a lot of comments on this thing. So for those of you that are new or do not know, Vinny made the theory, and correct me if I'm wrong, Vinny, but essentially you said that The Last of Us Part 1, the reason why this game is so important is because Naughty Dog doubled their staff. And after doubling their staff, they needed a sort of low-risk way of training some new employees on the Naughty Dog brand and sort of the way that Naughty Dog runs things, their engine, et cetera, their sort of workflow. Is that sort of the gist of the article? Am I missing? I mean, not the article, the video. Am I missing anything?
Yeah, no, that just about sums it up.
Okay, great. So here are some of the top comments. I apologize if we were unable to get to yours. We will try and get to it next time. But the first comment we have is from Retro Rivals. And they say, your theory makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of benefits for the company remaking this game. It's a great opportunity to teach new staff, and it's easy money because they're going to sell a lot of copies of this game. Again, awesome podcast. Cheers. Thank you. Go ahead, Vinny.
Yeah, well, thank you, Retro Arrivals. I appreciate your positive
Retro
feedback.
Rivals.
Retro Rivals. Sorry, I don't have a quote in front of me. Retro Rivals. We appreciate it, though. Yeah, so that's cool. Happy to hear it.
Okay, the next comment is from Ace. This remake is honestly just a plus across the board for gaming. Like you've pointed out, it has the potential to be an immense benefit for Naughty Dog in terms of giving their devs a no-pressure challenge. But I personally am excited for this project because it will revive this all-time classic. The Last of Us graphics and gameplay is far too aged. I have plenty of friends who have not tried The Last of Us just because of the graphical slash gameplay barrier. I really like that term, graphical slash gameplay barrier. What do you think of that?
Yeah, very well said. Very well put. We appreciate the feedback, Ace, or at least I do. And I'm in agreement with him. I think that I can't wait to play. Can't wait to play it either. I know you. Are you going to play the game, Anthony? The Last of Us Part 1 remake? Let me ask you that. Are you with Ace? Are you with me and Ace?
Probably. Probably just for the podcast, I'll probably play it.
Interesting. Well, I'm right there with you. I'm definitely playing this. I can't wait.
I really like this term though, graphical gameplay barrier. So, graphical barrier. That's a cool term. You know, there's a graphical barrier, and people are not going to jump on a game that's this old because it looks old. There's a barrier of entry there based on the way that it looks. Interesting. I thought that was a really interesting point.
Yeah, very well put.
The next comment is from Waiting for the Stop. They say, I keep posting a variant of a comment that I have made across multiple videos. The main reason I'm excited about the remake isn't because of the visual and graphical, as well as gameplay improvement exclusively. The main reason I'll be purchasing it is because of the presumed, and in my opinion, frankly necessary, upgrades in two, this is paraphrasing, accessibility options in the new Part 1 will be similar to the ones implemented in Part 2. As a physically disabled gamer, this will enable me to complete the game without struggling like the first time around. So this is a take that I hadn't even considered, but I think this is a really, really solid point. Apparently, The Last of Us Part 2 had some upgraded accessibility options. I don't know too much about them, but you know, this goes back to making this game more accessible. You don't want to play with old graphics. You don't want to play you know, there's not a feature that you need to enjoy this game properly without the distraction of not having those features that you need to play the game. So what do you think about that, Vinny?
Yeah, it's an excellent point that me and you didn't even really think of, right? I think that we've come a long way with regards to accessibility options since even The Last of Us remaster came out 10 years ago, right? So it's a great point. I think that's wonderful. I'm very happy that that's Waiting for the Stop, right? That's the username here, Waiting for the Stop. You make a very good point. Very good point. I wish I thought of that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well,
it's awesome. And like you said, we heard when The Last of Us 2 came out, Anthony, people were like going. Apparently it's like above and beyond in terms of accessibility options for all sorts of different things. So kudos to Naughty Dog for implementing those things, and I'm happy that it's going to be implemented in the remake.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I mean, it's just, again, just getting more exposure, people that haven't experienced the story, getting a definitive version of this story. Again, I was very, I don't want to say negative, but skeptical of this game, I think is a better way of putting it. And the more feedback I'm getting from you know, subscribers and the more feedback, you know, the things that you have brought to my attention too, it's just, you know, it's making it clear that there's a much more positive spin on this game that I didn't realize at first. So this next comment is from Chase Corwin. He says, "Thank you, brother. IDK, why no one else are making these points. Great vid, homie. Keep it up, please. Haha. Can't wait for the new gameplay and such. Plus, after HBO, if it's any good, which it better be, there will be tons of new fans / people who will want to check it out." Vinny?
Yep. Chase hit it right on the head right there. If that HBO series does well, this game's it's only going to reach a whole nother audience. So appreciate the feedback, Chase. I'm happy you liked it. But you make a very good point about the HBO series. People are going to want to play this after that series. And especially what we're hearing, by the way, Anthony, is that I've heard a lot of whispers about that series. Apparently it's going to be really good. They're investing a lot, and apparently it's going to be great. So
I really hope so. Chase. I think we should do a segment yeah, Sacred Simple said that they were going to do a segment on the series, so not to completely steal from their idea, but I think it'd be cool to like do a review of each episode on
Yeah,
the podcast every week when it comes out. Totally
that'd be
stealing
cool.
their idea, but you know, it's not the first time somebody stole something on YouTube from somebody else.
I was gonna say all PlayStation podcasts are gonna be reviewing those episodes.
Right,
It would not
right.
surprise me. Yep.
Okay, so next, Tanner Jones says Naughty Dog is going to ride this train until the end, much like Kevin Smith will ride Clerks until the end. It's their most prized. I thought that was pretty funny.
That
Um, Clerks 3 just got a trailer. So I don't know if you know about that.
I yeah, I saw that. I actually watched that trailer. I was like, damn, making another Clerks movie? Like, no way.
Yeah,
I mean, he makes a good point. If it's gonna make Naughty Dog money, they're gonna keep doing it. So
right.
Tanner, appreciate the feedback. That's a good point. I mean, it's gonna make a lot of money. That's a fact. So why not just keep releasing this game? Maybe in 10 years from now we'll get another remake.
Right.
Just crank these things out every decade.
The Last of Us Part 1 Definitive Edition.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next comment is from a user that goes by the name of I Heart Zombies. They say, "My honest opinion, I think The Last of Us Part 3 is already in development, at least the early stages. From what I read, there is already a script floating around."
Interesting. I Heart Zombies. Interesting take. I don't think they're gonna go right into a Last of Us Part 3. I don't. I'd be surprised, but if what he's saying that there's a script floating around, it it would surprise me if the next game that Naughty Dog releases is a Last of Us Part 3. I'd be pretty surprised. I don't necessarily want to see that myself. I'd prefer them to just do a totally new IP at this point. After the multiplayer release, I don't know if I could handle another Last of Us game. What about you, Anthony?
I'll play it. Oh, I will play
Oh, I'll
anything
play it
Naughty
too.
Dog. Yeah, I'll play anything Naughty Dog makes, and that's where I stand there. I mean, I'm kind of, you know, I need to play the oh, what's it called? The Uncharted 4 DLC. I haven't played that yet. Apparently, it's really really good, but I haven't even touched it. I saved the best comment for last though, Vinny.
Oh,
Ruben
good.
Santos. Uh, he's been commenting on a bunch of our videos, so I recognize the name. Thank you for this comment, Ruben. This is not really a theory, he says. It's a good bet that that's exactly what's going on. And I think Alana, I'm assuming he's referring to Alana Pierce. He gave me a link, so I know that for a fact, actually. Confirmed this too in her recent video about it. What do you have to say about this, Vinny? I think I sent you the video too, right?
Yeah. Well, the first thing I'd say with regards to this not being a theory, I suppose you can call it whatever you want. I mean, it's just a response to those that are asking why in the hell is Naughty Dog making this game. You know, I suppose if you don't want to call it a theory, great. That's fine. It's just this is my idea as to what exactly went behind the decision making process with that. But Ruben seems to agree with my take or our take right at this point, because I think you agree as well. So I'm happy about that. And to the Alana Pierce point, I did watch the video, and her point is very it's different in a lot of ways, where she kind of says that this is not really catered towards us, those that have already played the original Last of Us. It's not really for you, it's for a new audience. But she did mention within her video of The Last of Us Part 1 that, this would be for a great opportunity internally for Naughty Dog to promote people. But she didn't go into detail about Naughty Dog, employing a bunch of, having a new employees and giving them the opportunity to learn in a low risk environment. So, she definitely touched on some of my points, but I'm happy that Ruben sounds like he agreed with us.
Yeah. So I think that this is something we'll do every once in a while when we have comments or videos that's worth doing this for. I think that this was a really good one. I'm happy that it got exposure, and I'm sick of talking about the channel, so I'm going to be done talking about that. But I think that this is to wrap it up, I think this is a good segment we'll add every once in a while. So if you got comments, send them our way. But enough about that. Next, and thank you, Vinny, by the way. Thank you for
Of course.
responding to all of our
Yeah,
lovely viewers.
of course.
Next topic. Please be true. 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 Elden Ring DLC leak. This was on pretty much every video game news outlet, but I picked an article from GameRant.com. Elden Ring Barbarians of the Badlands DLC leaks online. Bandai Namco's reported ransomware attack allegedly ends up leaking titles for fiscal year 2023, including DLC for Elden Ring. Vinny, go.
This doesn't surprise me in the slightest that there's DLC, if this is true, that they're making DLC for Elden Ring. I think it's common sense at this point that they should, because that game just sold like wildfire. So many people played, love that game, so it doesn't surprise me in the slightest. Now, From Software doesn't typically, I say that, but I suppose Bloodborne did have DLC. Did Dark Souls 3 have DLC?
Yeah.
I think it did as well. So they're accustomed to doing this. So I'll be interested to see what this is. Is this just going to be a whole nother map area? I'm guessing that's what it's going to be. It's going to be kind of an off map or something to that effect. I'm curious to see how big is this DLC going to be. That's kind of where my mind went. What is the size of this going to be? Because Elden Ring is obviously one of the biggest games that I've ever personally played. I don't know if I'm going to play the DLC. I don't want to say soured on Elden Ring, but it just got so big to the point where I think I got overwhelmed and had to stop. I was like 50 hours into it. I was like,
You didn't beat it?
I need to take a break. No, I'm about 50 hours in. I loved every second of it, but I think I just had reached a point where it was like, okay, I'm getting a little too overwhelmed with all the stuff going on.
It's the best game I've played in the last probably 10 years. And that is not an understatement. That game is so good, man. It is
interesting.
So good. How have you not beaten that game? Oh my God. We need to talk about that. To it. We need when you beat that, we're going to talk about the game. It's between funny enough, it's between that and Horizon Forbidden West for my game of the year, but I mean, it's like my game of the year is already set in stone. You can't touch Elden Ring. You can't touch it. And it's so annoying. And I hate to go chalk like that, but I know that's my game of the year. If Elden Ring really does have DLC, here's where it kind of gets dicey for me. The game's perfect. It's literally perfect. They sort of nerfed some certain summons, and they do balance changes every once in a while, but the day one release of that game is as close to perfect as I've ever seen in a game. You know what I mean? There's a couple bugs, but nothing that deters you from this experience. The map is one of the most amazingly crafted maps ever. It is just oozing with detail and things to do. There is not a single section of that map that is empty or not worth exploring. I literally explored every inch of that map. So when you add DLC into the mix, does it tarnish, excuse the pun, does it tarnish that sort of perfect, what's the word? Damn it, that tarnish pun got me.
It threw you off. Yeah.
Does it tarnish the, package of the original game?
Yeah, that's a very good point, Anthony. I think that I don't think it. Knowing From Software, I think it's a safe bet that this DLC is going to be outstanding. I would be shocked if it came out and you said, "Man, this DLC just ruins the original game or the original, map and the original feel of the game." I would be stunned if this came out and is not well received by the community and by reviewers alike. This is going to be great. I mean, they only release great things at From, so I wouldn't worry about that. But I mean, I'm just curious to see how big it's going to be. Like you said, yeah. What is this going to be? What is the size of this going to be? Because if you take this with the original Elden Ring, let's say this is like 30 hours. we're
Right.
looking at like 150-hour game. You know, if when they release the inevitable collector's edition or the complete edition, you know, whatever that is,
I will say
uh,
this.
it's going to be daunting. Yeah.
It was, I think it took me 135 hours to beat, but I did everything. So it's already
Yeah.
nearing that marker. Um, but whether the DLC, if it's even real, this seems like something that's very similar to what happened with Capcom. Do you remember that? Capcom
Yeah.
had like all their
Yeah.
reports leaked, and there was another hacker. I don't know if it was the same people, but anyway, so that happened with Capcom, and then all the announcements came out, and it seemed like it was all legit. So I'm excited. It seems like this is real. But anyway, that was a side note. What I was trying to say is whether if it's real, whether it's vast or small, it is going to be dense. I will guarantee you it will be dense because it will be more Elden Ring. And more Elden Ring means more densely packed uh, areas to explore that have a secret lying behind every corner. So even if it's like, you know, a couple of bosses worth of content, you could still get 30 hours out of it if you wanted, you know, because that's the way that the game sort of that's the foundation of this game, at least. And in the base game, it is dense and detailed. So that would be my response to what you're sort of asking.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like we're getting it pretty soon. So I think we're going to get it probably within the next year. It says 2023. So my guess is sometime next fall, something like that. I'm excited. This kind of typically DLC announcements make me want to go back to games if I like what I'm seeing out of that DLC. So I'm hoping this will, you know, give me that little push that I need to go back into that world because I loved every second of it. I just got a little bit too preoccupied and maybe a little overwhelmed by the openness and the sheer amount of things to do is just unreal. Is really a special game.
Yeah, I'm the exact opposite. When I hear DLC, I think exactly what I said, like another thing that can potentially ruin a good thing. But I feel the exact not oh my god, I'm like recycling what I'm saying here. I'm repeating myself, but I feel the opposite about the opposite. I feel I'm excited
Very
for the
well
Elden
put.
Ring. Yeah, very well put. Let me just let me just say it. I'm excited for this. Okay,
Yeah.
I am. Any more Elden Ring? Any more excuses to go back to this game? I'm down for. I love Elden Ring so much. Um, I'm ready to move on to our next topic, which is, as always, for your consideration, the last topic of the show. Now, for your consideration is a segment every week where we suggest games to each other. We get back and sort of do a little mini review slash impressions on. It depends on how far we get. Sometimes we beat the games. Sometimes lately we haven't been beating the games, but it's for your consideration. We like to suggest games to each other. Check out games that we don't typically, maybe games that we missed, I should say. So I gave Vinny, he had a rough week, a rough couple weeks, because I gave him Sifu and I gave him Crash and I gave him Deathloop, and these games all, as he put it, just kicked him in the ass. So I decided to go easy on him, and his game was actually, it was Prey, but I just wanted him to play the opening sequence to Prey. So major spoilers for Prey. If you haven't played the opening sequence to this game, do not listen if you don't want to be spoiled. It is one of the best introductions to any game that I have ever played. And Vinny, do you agree?
Yeah, Anthony, I
Okay.
completely agree. I suppose I could just jump right into it at this
Yeah.
point, right?
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't want to spoil or yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to make sure you agreed because I'm still teeing us up here. So the next thing I will say, Prey intro, just go ahead and play it. We both agree it's one of the best intros to any game ever. Before we get into it, we have to recommend another game to Vinny here. And
Ooh.
I gave Vinny a choice. I said, Vinny, we can play Horizon Forbidden West together, side by side because neither of us have played it yet, and I just started playing it again. Or last week he said, I want to play bad games. Why don't we ever play bad games on the podcast? And we have, like you said, receipts that you don't like that we have receipts. We have receipts, Vinny. You said you want to play bad games. I can look it up.
I recall.
So I gave you the option. You said, no, I want to play bad games. So, and we'll do this. This will be a rare one. We don't have to do this all the time. But the genre this week is bad games that we love. Okay? Bad games that we love. Yes. So think of a bad game that is understood to be, maybe not the greatest game that you love, that I haven't played, and come up with one for me. Your game, are you ready for it?
I'm ready. This is new to me. Go ahead. I'm excited.
It's Shenmue 2.
Oh, boy. I've seen videos on that game and how bad it is. Okay. All right.
Okay, so
Shenmue.
So specifically Shenmue 2, because Shenmue 1, it's $6 on PlayStation Store. Okay, so it's not gonna set you back too much. It's $6, and you get both games, both absolute masterpieces.
Oh my God.
I love these games. Okay, I'm just gonna say it right there. But Shenmue 2 was one of my all-time favorite childhood games. I played it on the original Xbox, and I was obsessed with it. So I'm gonna let you in on that little part of my life, and you need to look up. The story is very, very crucial to the game, and I'm not being facetious here. It really is. So just look up sort of the story of the first game before you dive into the second one, because the second one starts off like right when the first one ends. And then also the only other requirement I have is that you need to pay attention to like the dialogue and actually watch the cutscenes, because they're so funny. They're great. So you need to actually watch the cutscenes and actually pay attention to the dialogue, because that is what makes the game special. Okay.
And Shenmue 2 is not the one that just came out, right? The one that came out recently. That was Shenmue 3?
That's Shenmue 3.
Okay.
But I started playing Shenmue 2 this week. And I just have so many memories of this game, man. You know what? I'm not going to say another word because I want it to be fresh for you. So I'm not going to say anything. And with that, spoiler alert for Prey. I repeat, do not listen to this if you have not played Prey already, at least the intro. And if you don't care, whatever, just stick around. It'll be fun anyway. But this is something you want to experience, I promise you. It's been covered a lot, but we're covering it right now, right here. Vinny, give us your Prey intro, thoughts, impressions, review. Go.
I have a lot to say about this, because when you gave me an opening sequence to a game, I thought to myself, what are some of the games that I've played in the past that have opening sequences that are, things like special, like genuinely special opening sequences? My mind before I played this was the only two games that I could personally think of, and maybe you have a few more that if you'd like to chime in, were BioShock, the original BioShock, one of the greatest opening sequences of all time, probably the best, to be honest with you, in my opinion, and God of War. The recent God of War game, and that fight with I can't think of the other character's name, but that kind of like superhero fight that you have at the opening sequence is outstanding.
Yeah, I got
Go
one.
ahead.
I got one.
Yeah. Curious.
Those two I completely agree with. I think BioShock is very similar to Prey, actually. This is almost a spiritual successor to it. But I was going to say Uncharted 2, when you're hanging off the bus. So good.
So good. Yes, so good. And it makes you just want to... It grabs you and it hooks you. And I actually ended up playing 6 hours of Prey. I don't know how long the game is. I stopped at that point. This game is very arcane. Not necessarily the gameplay that I typically love. Deathloop was their first game that kind of grabbed me and got its hooks in me. And I'm still actually working on beating in that game. I actually played it like a week ago, but I'm totally lost in it at this point. But anyways, back to Prey. I suppose it's been about 2 weeks since I played it. I played it the day that you gave it to me, funny enough. So it's been about 2 weeks, so I'm speaking a little off the cuff here, so I'll do my best to try to, I guess, walk through the opening sequence and why it's so special. I think that would probably be the best way to do it for those that don't care about spoilers and that maybe never played it. I think that would probably be a good thing to do, and then you can chime in as I kind of give my impressions on what was going on. But basically, you open the game in a very high-end apartment, and you receive a call. It's your first day on this job, and if I remember, there's a helicopter waiting for you at the top of the apartment, and what ensues, you kind of take a helicopter ride to the lab. You're a lab geek, you're some sort of a scientist. That's kind of what's alluded to you. Anyways, on that helicopter ride, Anthony, to the lab, the initial sequence, like right at the start of the game, the credits, and it shows Arcane Studios on the bridge. The music
Yeah,
is
that was cool.
outstanding. It's like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like, what a really cool way to introduce the game on this sort of helicopter ride, like showing all of the, the credits, the directors' names in the city on the helicopter ride through with this awesome, like 10 out of 10 electronic music, like that you don't even know. That's probably the best part about the opening sequence, is that you don't know what the game is yet.
Right.
So anyways, you take this helicopter ride
Can I
to
interject?
this lab. Yeah, go ahead.
Is that what you thought was like the cool part of the intro?
Yes, I did. I was like, oh, this is really cool. Like, I could see why he wanted me to play this sort of introduction credit
That's funny.
sequence. That's
That's
probably
super
what he
funny.
wants me to talk about, and it's really cool. Anyways, you show up to your job by helicopter. You meet what is like a family member, I believe. You share the same last name. I'm assuming it's a brother. I can't remember specifically the relationship. And he says, welcome to your first day on the job. You got to go through this test and remember what we talked about. Anyways, you go into these test tubes. I'm still trying. It's one of those games that you're trying to figure out what the hell the game is as you're going through this opening sequence the entire time.
Right.
You're trying to figure it out. You go into these test tubes, and you are essentially a test subject that these doctors are, trying to. There's something going on with you, and that they're trying to understand you more. And I forgive me for speaking off the cuff like this. I may not be doing a good job of showing what's going on within the game, but basically you go through these tests that these doctors are kind of making you go through, and you're trying to figure out like, what the hell's wrong with my character? Why am I going through these tests? I thought I worked here. They're, making you pick up blocks and kind of literally like basic tasks. Like, oh, hey, they kind of put you in a room and they say, I remember this one perfectly because it was hilarious. They say, hey, next thing that we want you to do is hide away from us. And the doctors are kind of watching you through the glass. And the only thing that's in the room is this chair. So you hide behind the chair to not let them see you. And then the doctor's in the background. You can hear him saying, like, is he hiding behind the chair? What the hell's he doing? And it's so funny because you're like, what the hell is this? Like, what am I? Am I some sort of like monster? Like, you don't know what the hell is going on. So anyways, you get to your final test. You do like 5 or 6 tests. There's also IQ questions that you go through, and you can tell that something's wrong. The doctors are, there's a few times I think during these tests that they leave the intercom on by mistake, and they're like, wait, why is this happening? Why is he doing all these things? He's not supposed to be doing these things. And you're like, what the hell is going on? You get to the last test, probably about 10 tests later, and one of the main doctor that you've been talking to, and by the way, the dialogue is wonderful. Like, you genuinely feel like this is a real lab facility with the conversations that these doctors are having. The actors are doing, the voice lines are perfect. The doctor's like, hey, can somebody bring me a cup of coffee? Like, I'm trying, like, you could tell it's just another day at work for them. And like, you really feel like you're there. It's like really weird. Anyways, what is I can't think of the blob names. What are they referred to as? I think it's the shapeshifters, right?
Something like
the
that.
black blobs. It's I suppose I'll refer to them as shapeshifters. Anyways, doctor's talking to you through the plexiglass, and basically he asks for a cup of coffee, and the coffee gets to him, and he goes, "There's no coffee in here. What the hell's wrong?" This cup of coffee basically explodes into this black blob. It turns into this black blob that they refer to in the game. I'm going to call them shapeshifters. I know there's like another name for them. I can't think of it off the top of my head. And basically everything goes black. They hit a red button and they knock you out with this gas in the lab room. You have no idea what the hell is going on. And what happens? You wake up the next morning. You're back at your apartment. It's your first day at the job again. And it's almost like a Groundhog Day moment where now all of a sudden There's like scary, creepy ass music going on in the background when you're at your apartment when you wake up the next day. And everything's quiet. It has a different vibe to it, a different sort of soundtrack when you wake up the next morning because you know something's wrong. And you walk outside your apartment to go to the helicopter again because it's a Groundhog Day sort of moment. And it's all just ripped to shreds. Everything's destroyed. Everything looks like shit. The outside of the apartment's destroyed. It looks like hell on earth went on outside your apartment. The apartment inside looks normal, but you leave it and everything's just exploding, things like that. And it genuinely becomes a horror game at that point. And you have a flashlight, it's dark, it's pitch black. You're like, what the fuck is going on in this game? That was me. I was like, what the hell is this? Like, I genuinely still don't know what this is, but you almost have like goosebumps because you're actually like afraid. Like, you don't know what the hell it is. And the best part, and I know this is why you had me, is you go basically on that Groundhog Day, that next morning, you go back through the same areas, but you realize that everything was just a test. It was basically the helicopter that you went on. It is a fake helicopter. There's a green screen behind it. You're walking around. You're basically going behind the scenes of everything that you did the first day. And you're seeing these signs that say, do not talk to the test subject unless it's on script. Don't do this with the test subject. Make sure you avoid him when he comes, your way. Only say these certain lines. And it's like, what the fuck is going on here? And it's such a crazy experience, especially when you see that helicopter. It is really creepy. And the propellers are going. There's this green screen. And the music, it genuinely is like horror game level music, where you don't know what the fuck is going on. You know that there's these shape-shifting things that killed everything in sight. Everybody's dead. There's all these dead bodies. There's like a few dead bodies everywhere. It is genuinely one of those moments of like, oh my God, this is so freaking cool. Like, this is really creative. I don't want to keep going on and on about it. I played for an additional, I think that was the sequence of events that you were referring to with regards to the opening sequence, because you keep going and you find... Yeah, and you find additional things. I played for an additional like 4 hours after that because I was pretty captivated, to be honest with you. I was like totally locked in. I was ready to beat it, but I reached a point 6 hours into the game where it's very difficult to figure out what to do without looking up a guide. It just is. There's certain things. It's very difficult to find certain things. But man, it was a really special opening sequence. And my mind immediately went to BioShock. That was where my mind went. It plays like BioShock. You even get a wrench. Basically a wrench, like a work tool to hit these shape-shifting items, which, by the way, the shapeshifters are scary as hell because you don't see them at first.
Yeah, they just like pop
basically
up.
You can go and pick up a health potion, and you pick it up, and all of a sudden it's this massive shapeshifter trying to kill you with, I mean, like 10 out of 10 soundtrack, like music. Like, the soundtrack really emphasized it. The game completely changes. It turns into a horror game out of nowhere. And on top of that, it's intriguing because you're going back through that first day where you don't really know what's going on. It's an awesome opening sequence, man. It's something that I know I did a piss poor job probably at explaining it, but
that was great.
Everybody needs to, even if you heard that, go play this. It takes like 2 hours at most to beat this opening sequence. And it really is one of the more special opening sequences to a game. I completely understand why you gave me this because... oh my God, it really is in that upper echelon of opening sequences of just, man, like I love the fact that I didn't know what the game was. That was the best part, was that intrigue of what the hell is this? What's going on? Right. You know something's wrong, but you don't know what it is. I love that feeling. And you're kind of on your toes, on edge, so to speak, because you just don't know what the hell is going to happen. And such a wonderful opening sequence. I know. What do you have to say about it? Because I know it looks like you're antsy to dive in here.
I am. I just
think
think
it for me,
dude. It's so creative, like you said.
Yep.
Two things that this reminds me of. One is an episode of Black Mirror. It's kind of like very Black Mirror, Twilight Zone-esque. The other one is, have you ever seen the movie The Truman Show?
Yes, 100%. Definitely it's Truman Show vibes.
Yeah. Yep. It's like literally The Truman Show horror meets like a horror game. And then obviously BioShock, you already said it. This is, to me, this is the spiritual successor to BioShock. So I put it down right after the opening sequence. I played it for maybe another, I really only played it for like another 20, 30 minutes. And I was going to play it, but it really deserves your attention because it's not just a horror game. It's got like a very hefty amount of detail and story elements to it. So it's one of those games that you really want to stop and smell the roses, like in BioShock. And I just wasn't in that sort of mindset. But it was on one of the PlayStation Nows or whatever it was, and I had always heard that the intro sequence to this game was, supposed to be really good. And wow, I'm curious, where does the game go from there? Talk to me a little bit about that. I'm really happy you played more of it because I
Yeah.
am very curious about the game.
Yeah, it kind of just keeps going into that mystery of who you are, and it's very story heavy, to be honest with you. One of the more, usually I don't like this in games, but I actually liked it in Prey, is the way that it tells its story from that point forward is through tapes and files that you find, and you're kind of listening to these tape recordings of how many times you went through that testing project
Very
up to that
BioShock.
point. So
Very
BioShock. It's literally, I mean, it's so evident, the BioShock comparisons there. You're absolutely right. It's basically a spiritual successor. But yeah, it basically plays a lot like BioShock going forward. You go to newer areas, you learn more details about, what the hell you are and why you're in this situation through tape recordings, through typically computers as well. There's actually a good amount of reading that you would have to probably do to really get everything out of this story and typically I don't like that within games, but it's actually kind of nice in this one because it's like you could take a sigh of relief, but it really plays like a horror game. It really does. I know about 4 hours in, there's essentially a direct horror sequence. Like it's a horror game. I would categorize this as a horror game. I really would, and I'm so happy it is because it's different in that way from other games. It's just so interesting. I don't want to go, too off the cuff here regarding that, just because it's been about 2 weeks since I played it. But the reason why I stopped really is everything in the world is interactable. Deathloop was like that, but not to this extent. I mean, everything you can grab in this game, basically. Like I feel like 90% of the objects in the world you can grab and throw, and that's how the game kind of gets you with its jump scares, so to speak. Because a lot of times you'll pick up an item and it's a freaking shape-shifting blob, and all of a sudden you got to kill it. But it's a mystery, man. I'm still like I still don't know what the hell is going on, and I'm 6 hours in, but I was still inclined to play more to figure everything out. So you're kind of just piecing that puzzle together as to what you are and what was going on. While also killing those blobs. I call them blobs at this point, but it's really good. It's really good. You get like new weapons and things like that, very similar to BioShock. Very actually interesting weapons. Like Arcane's actually Deathloop and this game, they're really almost similar to Insomniac with Ratchet and Clank, with just the variety of interesting weapons that you get in these games.
It's an interesting
They're
comparison.
really good at it. Yeah, it's just, Insomniac does that with all their games pretty much.
Right.
Just having a lot of variety with regards to how to approach with their weaponry and kind of creativeness with that. This game kind of has the exact same thing. But it's really good, man. It's really good. I'm actually, I hope I beat it. I'm actually in the process of playing Sifu as well from 2 weeks ago. I actually,
oh man,
started playing that again. So I know that's off the topic, but that's where my heart is right now is Sifu and Cuphead. So I've been
wow,
bouncing around from these
I
hard-ass
told you,
games.
man.
I'm trying to, yeah.
I
Sifu
told you were
has
gonna
my
go back to
attention.
Sifu.
Yeah. I
and
did.
You were gonna.
Yeah.
I knew you were gonna go back to Sifu, but I wanted to say before we go down another rabbit hole, I wanted to say to quote one of our listeners, I really want to play Dishonored now after having exposure to Prey and having exposure to Deathloop, but the graphical barrier is getting me. I love that term. I can't wait to use that term more. The graphical barrier is getting me with especially the first Dishonored. I know it's a little bit better in the second one, but I have the first one, and I really want to play it because these Arcane games are made with such care and detail. I just love the way the developers think over there at that studio. The way that their thought process of making and crafting a game is just so intriguing to me. I really want to go down their library, but have you played Dishonored? Either of the Dishonored games?
No, I've never played either of them. I know that Dishonored 2 in particular received almost every Game of the Year award at that point. I remember it being like a huge game that I just never got into. I never really, it looked like very stealth driven, which I briefly discussed before. But to that point, man, it's such a shame that we're losing this developer because I don't think we're getting any more of their games, which is just
super depressing. Yeah.
It is really depressing, especially now after playing Prey, Deathloop.
Yeah.
And like you said, I actually want to play Dishonored now because, hell, that's probably an amazing game. So it sucks that we're losing them.
So before we go, quickly touch on Sifu. Just 'cause I'm selfishly curious.
Yeah, I have been replaying the first level over and over again. That's all I'm doing right now.
Okay.
I'm trying to memorize it because you had said in the past that it plays a lot like Mega Man and that I should take that approach to try to memorize the level design. I haven't even gone back to the second world yet because I still don't think that I'm probably ready now, but I'm still trying to master the first one. I'm trying to trying to perfect my mechanics.
It doesn't get boring either, does it? You'd think it would.
No, it's actually a lot of fun. It's actually really addicting too. I actually want to play it now. I genuinely like you said, like you were kind of telling me that it kind of gets on its hooks in you.
Yeah.
And you can't wait to just go back and play it again. Sometimes you got to step away from it for about an hour or two, and then you start craving it again. It's one of those games.
I really want you to stick with that game because I want to talk more about it. So I really can't wait for you to beat that. We'll just make that a separate talking point. But before we let you guys go, we are going to tell you a random game that we are craving. Vinny, go.
Oh, random game that I'm craving. Oh boy, caught me a little off guard there.
Yeah, that's the point. Go.
Damn, you got to go first, Anthony.
Shenmue 3. Shenmue
my
3. I haven't even played it yet.
3.
I'm craving that game.
You know what I could go for? I need like a card game. What's a good card game? Like a Yu-Gi-Oh card game.
Inscription.
Okay, yeah, and maybe that's why I'm thinking of this. I kind of want to play a card game, not to give a specific one. I could go for some Inscription right now. They didn't announce a release date for it for PlayStation,
They didn't.
which sucks. And now I'm worried. I'm like, when am I going to get it in my hands? When am I going to get to play that game?
Get you some Inscription because that game is good. All right. Well, as always, thank you everyone for tuning in. Next week we are giving away $10 full to the PlayStation Store. So try and find that secret phrase. And until next time, I'm Anthony. As always, joined by Vinny. Thank you for listening. We will see you for episode 10. Take care, guys.
See ya.